Hey everybody, welcome back to another EDH video. Today's video we are back with another build your own precon video. This one we are doing Vnwxt Verbose host. But I would like to let you guys know that I have a Patreon link in the description. There's a couple tiers on there. Feel free to do whatever there. You don't have to do anything there. Just you go look at it. The free way to support me is just to like and subscribe. Do all the cool stuff. But yeah, let's get right into this. So Vnwxt Verbose host, one generic and a blue, legendary creature Homunculus. Start your engines. So if you have no speed, it starts at 1. It decreases once each on your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. And Vnwxt says you have no maximum hand size and max speed. If you would draw a card, you draw 2 instead. It is an 0/4, so it cannot attack for damage unless you equip it up or whatever. But the main goal of this deck is to be putting a bunch of evasive 1-mana 1/1s with flying or just unblockable or evasion to kind of get through for so turn 1 like evasive boy, turn 2 Vnwxt, turn 2 speed 2. It makes sense to me. So let's get right into the deck because I feel like this is a pretty straightforward mono blue deck. So we got Arcane Signet as some ramp, taps for a blue, no big deal. It's a good ramp piece. Mindstone taps for a colorless, but we can sacrifice it later and draw 2 cards when we have max speed because we're going to have max speed eventually, I hope. Then we have Sky Diamond. It taps for a blue, but it enters the battlefield tapped. It also is 2 mana, so it kind of interferes with our commander, but to ramp past our commander. Soul Ring, we're probably not going to cast on turn 1. We want to cast an evasive boy, but Soul Ring's good. Wayfarer's Bauble, you can tap 1, tap 2, and sacrifice it. Search for a basic lane card, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle. Gets you the basics out. Thought Vessel, you have no maximum hand size, and it taps for a colorless. It's a reiteration of our commander's no maximum hand size thing. Why not? We have High Tide, so it costs a blue, but it makes our islands tap for an additional blue, so it can pretty much double our mana effectively. I like High Tide. I always put it in my mono blue decks. It's like 90 cents. We have a 1/1 flying evasion boy. It's flying, and you can sacrifice it and counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature control, but can also get through early. And then we have Merfolk Spy, 1 blue, island walk. Whenever a Merfolk Spy deals damage to a player, that player reveals a card at random from his or her hand. So we're going to want to play a bunch of these on turn 1 eventually. Shoreline Looter, 1 generic and a blue. Can't be blocked. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card unless you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. So we're going to be drawing 2 and discarding 1 most of the time with this. We have Triton's Shore Stalker. It is a blue. So turn 1, this can't be blocked. So it can definitely get our speed up on turn 2. Zephyr Sprite, there's not going to be a whole lot of flying blockers early, so it's a 1 mana, 1/1. The art is funny looking though. Cloud of Faeries, 1 generic and a blue. So we can play this instead of our commander on turn 2, but then we can just play our commander after it. So it's kind of like a little ramp, but you can also cycle it and draw 2 cards whenever you have max speed. Our Forgotten Creation, this is a wheel. Beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand, and if you do, draw that many. So most of the time we can draw 14. Also has Skulk, so it can get through easily. Ghostly Pilferer, 1 generic and a blue, becomes untapped. You may pay 2 if you do draw a card. When an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card, which is commanders. Discard, and it can be blocked. Gingerbrute, 1 generic, haste, pay 1. It can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. Then you can sacrifice it and do the food stuff. Gudul Lurker, 1 blue, can't be blocked. The Megamorph we don't care about because we're probably not going to do that. We're just going to want to cast it on turn 1 for 1 because it's a 1/1. Mist-Cloaked Herald, it's a 1 blue, can't be blocked. It's a 1/1 Merfolk Warrior. This is, another one of the 1/1/1/1s. Yep, that makes sense. Spectral Sailor, 1 blue, flash flying. You can pay 4 and draw a card. That's not really what we care about. We care that it's a 1 mana 1/1 with flying. Slitherblade, 1 blue, can't be blocked. It's a 1/2 for 1. It's pretty good. If it could be blocked, it'd be buff. Loyal Drake, it's flying, but it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, you draw a card. Good for a turn 3 play. Nerd Rage, this is a draw category. 2 generic and blue, enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. Then you have no maximum hand size, and whenever this creature attacks, it gets +10/+10 if you have 10 or more cards in your hand. So it enters and draws 4 cards with our max speed. Windfall, 2 generic and a Blue, most of the time, we're going to be drawing like 30 cards off this. You know what this card does. It's a Wheel of Fortune, but in blue. Then we have Tolarian Winds, which is discard your hand, then draw that many cards. Most of the time, we're going to be drawing like 30 cards off this, and it's going to be really funny when we have a Psychosis color out. And also, Midnight Clock, 2 generic and a blue. It kind of counts towards ramp, but you can tap and make a blue, but you can also put an hour counter on it for 3. And then it says, at the beginning of each upkeep, put a hour counter on this artifact, which is everybody else's upkeeps as well. And whenever the 12th hour counter is put on this artifact, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards. Most of the time, we're going to be drawing 14 off this, which is pretty good for 3 mana. Triskaidekaphile, 1 generic and a blue. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. And you pay 4 and draw a card. So this is kind of good because we can win the game. Toothy, Imaginary Friend, 3 generic and a blue. Partner with Pure, it doesn't really matter there. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on Toothy. And whenever Toothy leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1 counter on it. So yeah, we're going to be drawing a lot of cards. So we're going to be putting a lot of counters on it, which means we're going to be drawing a lot of cards. 20 Toad, 3 generic and a blue. This is another win con in the deck. Your maximum hand size is 20. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, put a +1 counter on 20 Toad and draw a card. And whenever a 20 Toad attacks, you win the game if there are 20 or more counters on it, or you have 20 or more cards in hand, which is very plausible in this deck. Trust me. I've goldfished it a lot. It's very possible. Thopter Fabricator, 2 generic and a blue. This is kind of like a sub-theme. Flying, whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. We have a starting column, 3 generic. Start your engine, so it's in here for the start your engine. It can also tap for mana, but it says max speed, sacrifice this artifact, draw 2 cards, and discard. It's not the best draw, but Sanctus Tutelage, 2 generic and a blue. This is the mill strategy. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of his or library into his or graveyard. If they share a color, repeat the process. You can pay 6 and draw a card and discard a card. Racer's Scoreboard, 4 generic. It is a start your engines card, but whenever it enters, you draw 2 cards and discard a card, which would be 4 cards, and then spells cost 1 less if you have max speed. Pull from Tomorrow, X and 2 blue, draw X cards and discard a card at instant speed. Pretty freaking good. As you can draw like a bunch of cards. Psychosis Color, 5 generic. Power and Toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand, and whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. This is another win con. It's a way to win. 1 year of age, 3 generic and a blue. Flying, whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on 1 year of age. This thing can get huge. And usually we have max speed when this comes out. Preordain, 1 blue, scry 2, then draw a card. So this is a scry 2, draw 2 for 1 mana. This is basically 3 cards if you think about it. Ponder, 1 blue, look at the top 3 cards of your library, and then you may put them back in any order. You may shuffle. 1 mana, draw 2, seems good to me. I'm just basing this off of always having max speed. Opt, this is a scry 1, draw 2, which is effectively 2.5 cards, I believe. I think scry is considered half a card. I think that's what they deemed it. Muldrifter, 4 generic and blue, enters, draw 4 cards. But you can also evoke it for 3, and it enters and draws 2 cards, and yeah, so it's going to be 4. Mischievous Mystic, 1 generic and a blue, creature, human, wizard. Flying, whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. This is a secondary thing. Jace's Erasure, 1 generic and a blue. Whenever you draw a card, you may have target player put the top card of his or library into his or graveyard. The mill strategy. Laboratory Maniac, 2 generic and a blue. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game. This is like literally, yep. This. We're gonna do this. This is the easy win con. Frantic Search, 2 generic and a blue. Draw 4 cards, then discard 2 cards, and tap 3 lands. It actually says draw 2 cards, but with our commander, draw 4. Flow of Knowledge, this card is great. 4 generic and a blue. Draw a card for each island you control, then discard 2 cards. Usually we'll have about 5 or 4 islands, and we'll draw 8 cards. Coastal Piracy, 2 generic, 2 blue. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. We have a bunch of those 1/1s, so swinging and making us draw 2 is pretty good. Clinquant Skymage, 3 generic and a blue. Flying, whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on this creature. We're going to be drawing a lot of cards. This is another 1 year of age. Chasm Skulker, 2 generic and a blue. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on Chasm Skulker. Whenever it dies, create X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk, where X is the number of +1 counters on Chasm Skulker. Brainsurge, 2 generic and a blue. Draw 4 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any random order. Yep. Draw 8, put 2 back. Body of Knowledge, 3 generic and 2 blue. Power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size, and whenever it's dealt damage, you draw them many cards. Great blocker. Bident of Thassa, 2 generic, 2 blue. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And then 1 generic and a blue. Creature your opponents control attack this turn if able. Archmage, Charm, 3 blue, counter target spell. Target player draws 2 cards or gain control of target Soul Ring. Not really. Mana value 2 or 1 or less. Non-land permanent. Arcane Denial. This is a counter spell that draws us cards. 1 generic and a blue. Counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. And then you draw a card at the next upkeep. Alandra, Sky Dreamer. 2 generic, 2 blue. This is the secondary commander of the deck. This is whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. And then whenever you draw your 5th card each turn, Alandra and Drakes you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So this we have a couple of the cards that care about drawing your second card. It's not going to be the greatest secondary commander, but it does care about drawing cards, and that's what this deck likes to do. So why not? You can also run her if you want, but you don't have to. There is like a couple cards that support this, so if you wanted to, you could. Yeah, Alandra. She's actually really cool. I might just build her secondary, like a different deck for her. Aether Syphon, 1 generic, 2 blue. Start your engines, and then you can tap 2, tap it, draw a card. And then max speed, whenever you draw a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. Part of our mill strategy. This is great. I like our mill strategy. We always have a mill strategy in blue. Wizards class, you have no maximum hand size, so repeat of our commander. You also pay 3 and it becomes level 2 and you draw 2 cards. And then you can pay 5 and whenever you draw a card, put a plus counter on a target creature you control. Aetherize is a board wipe return all attacking creatures to owner's hand. 4 mana, it's easy to hold that up, especially if you have an instant speed draw spell. Evacuation, 3 generic, 2 blue. Return all creatures to their owner's hand. Again, easy to hold up if we have a draw spell. But you can also just do it on your turn if you have nothing else to do. Evacuation, it's not the best, but it works. It's like 10 cents. Curse of Swine, X and 2 blue. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green boar creature token. So we can exile kind of just what we want. We have a Spell Pierce, counter non-creature spell. Its controller pays 2, unless its controller pays 2. It's 1 mana. It's kind of like a removal spell. It could be early game anyways. Raven Form, 2 generic and a blue. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. It also has Foretell, which we're probably never really going to care about. We might. I don't know. Rapid hybrids. I can't ever pronounce that word. The one that gives them 3/3 green frog lizards, and the thing can't be regenerated. It's 1 blue. Pungify, 1 blue. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green ape creature token. The best blue removal spells that I just named. Reality Shift, 1 generic and a blue. Exile target creature. Its controller manifests the top card of their library. Always not the greatest. They do get a creature back and potentially a better card back, but. And then we have Witness Protection, 1 blue. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green-white citizen creature token with base power 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. I just like this card. I thought it was funny, so I put it in. Snap, 1 generic and a blue. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Untap 2 lands. It's free, and it bounces stuff, so it's cool. Negate, 1 generic and a blue. Counter target non-creature spell. Counters a counter. Counters Finale of Devastation. I don't know. I think it's cool. We have the Amonkhet Raceway. Has start your engines. That's what we really care about. That can tap for a colorless and max speed tap and give something haste. Avishkar Raceway, start your engines, taps for a colorless, but then you can also tap 3, tap it, discard, and draw. With our commander, it'll be draw 2, but we're probably never going to activate this because it's just at a really bad rate. Marigonda Raceway, start your engines, tap for colorless, max speed, tap it, add 2 colorless. It's a Soul Ring, and turn 4, it's not the greatest. We have Blasted Landscape. You can cycle it away and draw this card and draw 2. If we're in a pinch, it's a land. I don't know. I put the cycle lands in here. Lonely Sandbar enters battlefield tapped. Taps for blue, but you can also cycle it for blue. So discard and draw 2. So it replaces itself with 2 cards instead of just 1. I think I respect that. I think Remote Isle is also a decent one. 2 mana to cycle it, discard and draw 2 with max speed. Enters tapped and you add a blue. Demolition Field taps for a colorless, so you can tap it, tap 2, sacrifice it, destroy target non-basic land opponent controls, and then everybody searches for a basic. It's not the greatest card, but if somebody is playing Cabal Coffers, it's not on the Game Changers list, I don't think. So it can be in the bracket 2 decks, and that just kind of feels lame. I feel like I don't want that. So tapping a Cabal Coffers for 16 mana is not cool. So destroying it feels bad with that, but maybe you can kind of weigh it in a favor from the table. Be like, hey, I destroyed the Cabal Coffers, so, and I also gave you guys land, so don't attack me for 2 turns or something. You can get political with it. That's always the key with like playing like lower power. You can be political, and you can also be political in high power. You can be political everywhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to do some upgrades. There's some really obvious upgrades we can do here, but anyways, let's get into the upgrades. All right, so first up on upgrades, we have Teferi's Angel's Insight. This is 2 generic, 2 blue, legendary enchantment. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw each turn, draw 2 cards instead. So I believe if you draw a card for turn, you instead draw 2, and I think that's a replacement effect from Vnwxt. So I think you would draw 2 from the second card. I don't actually know. I couldn't figure it out. Enduring Curiosity, let me know in the description anyways. Enduring Curiosity, 2 generic, 2 blue. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And whenever it dies, you may return it to the battlefield under its owner's control as an enchantment. Another one of those like deal combat damage, draw things. Consecrated Sphinx, 4 generic, 2 blue. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. You draw 4. Yep. So these are not budget upgrades. I hope you guys realize that. This is going to break the bank. There's 7 upgrades here. So Consecrated Sphinx is like $30. So good luck. Echo of Aeons, 4 generic, 2 blue. Each player suffers their hand and graveyard into their libraries, then draws 7 cards. This is going to draw us 14 cards most of the time. It is, yeah, it's Echo of Aeons. It's Flashback 2. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, 1 generic, 3 blue. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. So it's basically another Lab Maniac, so we can win the game more. Hopefully, I guess. Jace's Archivist, 1 generic, 2 blue. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. We will probably discard 20, and we will draw 40. And everybody else will also draw 40. But if we wheel again, it'll be funnier. Men Willy Illusionist, 1 generic, 2 blue. Goes with the draw your second card each turn deck. Whenever you draw a second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue illusion. This creature gets +1/+0 for each other illusion. Whenever illusion you control dies, you may put a permanent card mana value less than or equal to that creature's power from your hand on the battlefield. Can be really good to just cheat stuff into play. Turn 3 curves out nice with our commander. Comes out after. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, Discord, subscribe, like, everything else. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.